Our first movie tells the story of a friendship behind prison walls that spans more than 20 years.
So welcome to episode 18 of Middlebrow Madness, an exercise in podcast hubris. My name is Derek Gaday.
My name is Isabelle Arf. I'm dispensing with the usual chicanery because there's something very special we have to do this episode, isn't there, Derek?
Yeah, there's something very special that's in my hands right now. It is about the size of a bread box, ironically enough, and it's a box from the USPS addressed to me from Phoenix, Arizona. And I am told that I'm going to like this. I'm not sure what the intended effect is.
Did I say that? I don't know if I said you'd like it. I said it would be a good goof.
It would be a good goof.
And I hope you like it.
Now, before I even open this fucking box, which is...
You had a premonition, didn't you?
I had a premonition. And just in case there are some skeptics out there in podcast land, this is the box. And I got my little Canadian Tire knife here that I'm going to open. I had a premonition, and given the nature of our podcast and the nature of our relationship on said podcast, I immediately thought sex toy. Because I mean, who wouldn't think that, right?
I do understand where you're coming from, but there's two main things going against that. One is that I feel like that'd be inappropriate because Derek, me and you have not had sex.
We have not.
And to the best of my knowledge, we will not in the future.
Not so far as I know.
Who can say the arrow of time is long? But
life is long.
As far as we can tell, we will not have sex in the future. So I feel like it'd be presumptuous of me to just send you a sex toy. And number two is because the main sex toys we stump for is Bad Dragon.
Bad Dragon.
And those are like $100 each.
Yeah, they're pricey.
And I'm willing to spend a lot on a goof. This current goof actually did cost me about $100.
That's insane. I haven't even opened this out. I haven't even opened this yet.
Because there's not just yours. I have a matching gift that I bought myself.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, no, you didn't buy the fucking... Okay, hold on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tuck into this thing.
Okay. But yeah, so while Derek opens it, I will say to the audience that... all in all, it cost me about $100, and then I also had to pay the import duties for Derek because I did not know that was going to happen, and it did.
Here we go.
And Derek's opening it now, and I'm sure he'll love it.
Oh, Lord. What pox have you unleashed upon my house, Isabelle? What bullshit am I going to have to explain to my girlfriend? All right.
It's bullshit you can use.
Okay.
I'm using it right now.
All right, so I've got the bill, and it is from our friends at Bad Dragon. It is a Bad Dragon branded baseball cap.
Sure is.
Holy shit! Thank you, Isabelle.
You're welcome. I figured I almost got you the T-shirt instead, but I figured the baseball cap's more applicable to more things.
It's a little more subtle.
A little more subtle. There's just the nice little logo, which is a very subtle logo, very tasteful logo.
Yeah.
Here's the fucked up thing. I bought this as a joke. This is also the most comfortable baseball cap I've ever owned. I have a big fucking head, and this baseball cap fits me perfectly, and I look really cute in it. I'm going to post a picture of probably both of us wearing it on Middlebrow Madness.
Sure.
This is why it's nice having certain social medias that you don't follow, Derek, because if anyone had followed either my Tumblr or my not safe for work private Twitter, you would have already seen this picture of me wearing it. But Derek, God. Now you have your very own Bad Dragon branded baseball cap.
It is now
that you can wear for podcasting. I'm wearing it right now.
I am wearing it on my head right now.
There was two versions. There's a gray version and a black version. I got you the gray version.
All right.
I got the black version.
Good call, because I already have a lot of black baseball caps.
There we go. Does it fit your head is the important part.
It does.
I figured you were a gentleman with a large to extra large head.
You are correct in assuming that. And it fits pretty good. All right, so now I have podcasting gear.
Yeah. All we need now, we're going to post these pictures, and we're going to you guys should share them and tag Bad Dragon in them. Because we need Bad Dragon to know that we're not just ironically a fan of their product. I spent $100 on their fucking baseball caps.
A fair amount, yes. I
am now in the hole $100 on this podcast. I've made no money. I'm in the hole over $100 because of shipping fees on these baseball caps.
So if Bad Dragon is in fact listening out there, we will take enough sponsorship to dig Isabelle out of the hole. And if you want to
give me $100, we will go from there.
Oh my god! Well, thanks again for this hat.
Yes, you're welcome.
And that dispenses with the goof portion of the podcast.
Yeah, the rest of it's going to be very serious.
Yes, it's going to be 100% serious because we're going to talk very seriously about very, very serious movies. Serious movies like, I'm just going to check my notes here, Scarface and V for Vendetta. Surely there's a mistake here.
Serious enough for your dorm room wall.
Oh, 100%. So what the fuck are we doing here?
Oh, yeah. What's this podcast and everything?
This podcast is called Middlebrow Madness. And I don't think we've ever explained why middlebrow. It's not highbrow and it's not lowbrow. It's kind of in the middle. It's kind of like a four-quadrant popular... People know these movies, man. And so what we've done is we've taken the Internet Movie Database's top 250 movies of all time and put them in a nice little single elimination bracket. We've added 6 of our own ringers, 3 chosen by me, 3 chosen by Isabelle, to round out the 256. And we pit them one against each other until we get a champion, until we find the best movie of all time, asterisk. We also have vetoes, so this is a 2-person operation. Over the course of this first round, we each have 4. We've both used 1. And we're basically on the hook to do this podcast until the very end, which by conservative estimations will be sometime around 2023. So maybe we should get on with it then.
Yeah, let's go.
So we've got 2 matchups as ever. Our first, we're going to do Scarface versus V for Vendetta, and then we will do Silence of the Lambs versus The Wizard of Oz. So, tail of the tape for our first matchup. The 106th seed, Scarface, released in 1983, directed by Brian De Palma, written by Oliver Stone, based on the book by Armitage Trail, starring Al Pacino, Stephen Bauer, Michelle Pfeiffer, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, Robert Loggia. 0 for 3 at the Golden Globes, because it didn't really get any Oscar play. And $66 million box office on a $37 million budget. Versus the 151 seed in this tournament, Isabelle. V for Vendetta, released in 2005, directed by James McTeague, written by the Wachowskis. We'll get to that.
Well, I mean, adapted by the Wachowskis.
Yeah, well, it's based on the graphic novel of the same name by Alan Moore and David Lloyd, starring Natalie Portman, Hugo Weaving, Stephen Ray, and John Hurt. Didn't get a whole lot of Oscar play either, but did go 1 for 3 at the Saturns. And it is a bona fide hit, $133 million box office take on a $54 million budget. So, which one of these you want to start off with?
Let's start with Scarface. Mm-hmm. I have some opinions about V for Vendetta that I don't know how long they're going to take, so I'd rather get to Scarface first and just knock that one out.
Okay. So I'll start. Mm-hmm. Scarface is one of the most overrated movies I think we're going to cover.
Absolutely.
So this movie has a reputation. We've talked on the pod about dorm movies, about movies where the posters adorn the walls of the otherwise naked walls of young men, usually in their college dormitory rooms. But we've also talked about hot couch guy movies.
Yes,
this is
as coined by the Chapo Trap House team.
Yes, the Chapo Hat House. I always made that joke because I just got a new hat and I have hats on the brain now. And these are the kind of movies that are owned. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. These are the kind of movies that are owned by the weird guy who sells you weed, or you otherwise have to kind of hang out at his place, and he's got 7 movies, and one of them is always on autoplay in the DVD player, and his couch is always hot. No one really wants to be there, but you kind of have to, and you bet dollars to donuts that they 100% have a copy of like Reservoir Dogs, or Tokyo Drift.
This is a good one.
That's another one. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull up my Instagram real quick because I was recently in Toronto, and my hosts, who were very, very nice, actually, had an assortment of DVDs on their shelf, and it had strong hot couch guy energy. Walk the Line, Ray, Lord of War, Ocean's 11, Charlie's Angels, Meet the Parents, Boiler Room. That's a cross. That one appeals to a lot of that same kind of demographic.
Lucky Number 11 would be a good one too.
Lucky Number 11, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Fight Club, Rockies 1 through 3, Babel, Stepmom with Susan Sarandon.
I feel like Babel is like the intellectual hot guy couch movie.
Sure. There's also like Thelma and Louise and Hannibal Rising.
Wow.
Yeah.
None of the other ones, huh? Just Hannibal Rising.
Yeah, right, and right next to a copy of Chocolat.
That's a lot like me, who like I own none of the Exorcist movies except for Exorcist: The Beginning, or by Rennie Harlan.
Did you see the Paul Schrader Exorcist movie?
That's the one that is a Dominion prequel to The Exorcist, which is a terrible name. You should never put the word prequel in your title because it's gross. It's just a gross word. I haven't seen it, even though I like Paul Schrader quite a bit because
Paul Schrader's good.
I hear people talk about Exorcist: The Beginning disparagingly because of Dominion prequel to The Exorcist, which I think is insulting. I think Exorcist: The Beginning is the only good Exorcist movie. That's a lie. I actually think all of them are good except for the first one. Which,
kind of a wild take, but I can't say anything because I've not seen any Exorcist movies.
You should watch Exorcist 2, The Heretic. It's a movie. There's a lot of things that happen in it, and a lot of those things are quite unique.
I think I might watch that first one, though. I hear it's good.
Nah, you're good. Don't worry about it. Hey, anyone listening, if you ever think, hey, should I watch The Exorcist? No. Just skip it. It's fucking terrible. But, you know what's not terrible? Is Scarface. It's fine.
It's weirdly just
There's my
okay.
hot take on Scarface. It's fine, I guess.
It's kind of okay. And it's like, all right, so first of all, and I know this is like, there was like a recent, very recent article that I think Nick Pinkerton wrote. Friend of the pod, ? Nick Pinkerton. And it was like sort of extolling the virtues of like, of not slow cinema, but of long cinema. So like your Seitan tangos and your out ones and just these kind of like cinephilic holy grails that are also just these sort of extended wrestling matches with time.
Yep.
And I say, fuck that. Scarface is 170 minutes and that's too fucking long.
It feels like it's so much longer. Like, I've seen Seitan Tango. I've seen Tai Chi Ku, the Wang Bing film.
Sure.
I think those are wonderful. I think they're beautiful and amazing. Scarface felt so much longer than either of those because this is not the kind of movie that needs that amount of explication. This is a pulp movie that they decided to stretch into epic lengths for some reason. And it's not like The Godfather where you have Coppola behind the camera so he can kind of get away with it. There's a lot of people who will defend Brian De Palma to the death, and I will defend certain of his movies. I also think he's a motherfucker who doesn't have any amount of restraint, and he doesn't really have ideas very often.
De Palma's awesome. He's just not Francis Coppola.
Yeah.
There's no shame in not being Frank Coppola. And I think I do like a lot of Brian De Palma's stuff, and I admire the fact that he's like, you know what, fuck it, we'll just do this like this because it's fun.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard not to admire the man who made Phantom of the Paradise.
Sure, which I saw recently at Fantasia. They had a print. Paul Williams was there. It was great. But no, I think the culprit here is one Oliver Stone. Because I don't mind the direction. Actually, De Palma directs the shit out of this.
Yeah, he puts a lot of work into a material that doesn't really deserve it.
Oh, God. I don't know. I don't recall if Oliver Stone has any movies in this bracket.
I fucking hope not. Oh, my God. I feel anyone who's listened to my previous podcast will know I've talked about this multiple times. I despise Oliver Stone. I think he's not just a noxious human being in every way. I think we'll talk about this actually more with V for Vendetta, but I think he is more than any other director. He has made so many movies that are explicitly political and have nothing political to say about anything.
And Stone does have one, Platoon.
Oh God, we're gonna have to watch that, won't we?
Which is a movie I like.
It's not like Natural Born Killers or something.
Is Natural Born Killers on here?
I hope not.
It's not.
When I was 17, I liked Natural Born Killers quite a bit, and then I grew up. No offense if you still like Natural Born Killers. I'm kind of being a dick, I realize, but
Platoon's going up against Das Boot, by the way.
I have a feeling I know which one of those will win. But
I've never seen Das Boot.
The fascinating thing about Scarface to me is not just the movie, it's the cultural context it exists in, because for this movie, which is not, even if I liked it the whole way through, it's not spectacular or stand out in any way.
No,
there are certain sequences that are very good. I think there's certain images that are indelible from it. Like, De Palma can make an image. He's very good at that. But this is a movie where if you go to any state fair, you'll see Bugs Bunny in a Scarface-style poster. That's the kind of cultural saturation it has. Like, you'll see that next to, like, SpongeBob smoking weed. These are the cultural images that we live with. Or, like, Marilyn Monroe with 2 guns across her chest. These are the most popular things you could imagine at a state fair. And somehow Scarface is a part of that milieu, and I just don't get it, Derek.
Like Jesus doing a bong rip.
I don't think you can get many, like, I don't think that's, what kind of state fairs are you going to? Does Canada have different state
Canadian
fairs?
ones, I think, yeah. No, it's like, it's weird to me because this is a movie that's beloved of a certain not strata, but a certain subsection of people. And it's like this weird movie where it's...
Including, it should be said, many rappers.
Yes.
Many hip-hop artists really love this movie, including hip-hop artists I like quite a bit. But at the same time, it's a movie that I could only see being edifying if you viewed Tony Montana as a hero. But I can't see you watching this movie and viewing Tony Montana as a hero. Yeah,
Tony Montana is, if anything, a tragic figure.
Yes.
Undone by his own greed, his own lust, his own possessiveness.
And I think that's the strongest point of the movie.
Yes, 100%.
Like, there's an image I talked to you about when we were chatting as well earlier, where he's just in this giant hot tub. There's bubbles all over him, and he has a pillow behind him that's clearly wet. He's smoking a cigar that, like, is ashed into a tray next to him, and he's got food on his right side, and it just looks disgusting and filthy. It looks like if you gave a child a massive amount of wealth and said, hey, do whatever you want with it, go for it. That's what they do, and I think that the movie is very smart in the way that it portrays its gaudiness, and in the way that it portrays it as an emptiness and a lack of any meaning, and the sheer, like, disgust of being rich, basically, and how disgusting it is to be luxurious.
Yeah, this is some Queen of Versailles shit, almost.
Yeah, definitely. But if those images were the whole movie, that would be something else. But there's, like, a plot in the middle that you have to, like, pay attention to.
There's a plot in the middle because the Scarface story is it's a rise and fall, right? Although I don't, like, that's the thing about its cultural cache I can't quite square, is because since this is a tragic story, I mean, do the people who view this movie as aspirational just kind of turn it off halfway? I mean, I would. It's 170 fucking minutes long. But no, I watched the whole thing because I believe in the pod.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean,
Thank you for watching the entire movie that we're supposed to watch for the podcast.
Like, a lot of the ancillary stuff in this movie is great. Like, Giorgio Moroder's score is great.
Certainly.
The performances are pretty good across the board. It's like the first bit of Al Pacino kind of tiptoeing on that ham line. Because he's doing, like, a broad Cuban accent.
Which, let's just get this out of the way. Al Pacino is not Cuban.
Nope.
Also, this movie, as I mentioned to you, it opens with a text, like a group of texts that, if you put that in slightly different, more casual language, it's just something that Donald Trump would say. Like, it's literally like the exact same language about Cuba is sending their rapists and their murderers and their criminals to America. And here's one of those criminals that hates communism, I guess. The politics of the movie are weird, but
I mean, that's
this
kind
criminal
of
being sent to America to, like, just wreak havoc all over this beautiful land of ours.
It's kind of like, it's super weird because the politics make no internal sense, and the politics make no external sense because a couple of years later, Oliver Stone does fucking Salvador, and if you like, and you had touched upon this earlier, his discography. Like, I can't wait for Oliver Stone to drop his rap record.
Don't give him any ideas. He would definitely go to... I'm surprised that Oliver Stone did not drop a rap record.
I mean, I think the closest we got to that as a culture was Warren Beatty and Bulworth.
And that didn't work out well, did it?
I don't know. I've never seen Bulworth.
Oh, you're missing out on... it is peak its time. There is very few movies that are more of their time than Bulworth, I'd say. I don't mean to say that you can't make a pulp movie out of the Mariel Boatlift, but at the same time, it's a very complicated issue that can very easily turn into, oh, Cubans are evil and Cubans are murderers and thieves, and this movie toes that line more than anyone should be comfortable with.
Like, this movie doesn't even have the cultural sensitivity of Miami Vice, which is a wild thing to say.
God.
Because the thing with Miami Vice, though, is it was kind of like impressionistic, right? Which this movie isn't, really. It like luxuriates in like excessive violence. It's like...
There's people getting cut up with chainsaws in this movie.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of a gnarly movie. And that's part of like the ancillary thing, the ancillary parts of it that I like, because when it gets like lurid, it's kind of awesome. But it's entirely too long and entirely too unfocused. And by the dawn of hour 3, I kind of get the gist of the character. I get the gist of the story. It's like, and the last 15 minutes are kind of impressive. Like that last final shootout at the Montana compound.
Although, unlike other movies we've talked about on the podcast where like the iconic moments still like resonate, that moment, because of its cultural ubiquity, it doesn't have the same resonance as it once did. It didn't impress me the way that like the end of Chinatown did, for example. No, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Robert Towne's a better writer than Oliver Stone. Okay. I think I'll have to agree with you in that case. Oh, God. And that's the thing. It's weird. It's such like a nothing movie. It should be awesome. Everything is there for it to be awesome, and it's not. Certainly. It's like, just... For all 170 minutes of it, I'd say, and this is not me exaggerating, I think you could cut out 50 of those minutes, make it 2 hours. A solid hour, yeah. That is a corker. Yeah, a 2-hour cut of Scarface is like, would be pretty sweet. Yeah. Is there anything else to say about Scarface, or should we move on to another? We just spent all this time bagging on Scarface. Let's talk about the movie that's going to lose. Hey, you never know. We shouldn't spoil the podcast before it happens. No, okay. But let's talk about V for Vendetta. Oh my god. Okay. By the director of Ninja Assassin and the Raven, V for Vendetta. What a nothing movie. Yeah. So this is the main thing I thought when watching it. I thought a lot of things, because it's really hard to like take the movie as like a piece of entertainment, because it's not very entertaining. So instead you're thinking of the meta discussion of like, whoa, what did this movie mean for the culture? Which is, we'll get into that, and it's frightening. What does this movie mean for like people who do care about it? What are the politics of this movie? And that's the question that I kept kind of turning around in my head, which is, for a film that is, excuse me, for a film that is explicitly political. This is a film that is 100% a political film, a polemical film in a way. Yes. This has no politics. This film has no politics. What is the ideology of V for Vendetta besides totalitarianism is not great? It's fuck shit up. It's anarchy, question mark? It's a 14-year-old's understanding of anarchy. Certainly, yeah. It's someone who, like, paints, like, anarchy symbols on their door so their parents don't come into their room. It's like, if you were to, so hypothetical question. If you were to ask an anarchist, do you think... Well, we're in luck, because you have one right here. Sure. Do you think that, bringing people over to the cause via means of psychological torture and assault is a good idea? Derek, I don't think I would say that. I think that is actually going against everything that anarchism would ostensibly say that it believes in. Huh. It's almost like instituting like hierarchical violence in order to make someone not believe in hierarchies is kind of self-defeating. Oh, God. All right, so this movie should we say what the plot of this movie is? Do people, like, not know? All right, so... Okay, I don't really know the plot of this movie. This movie, like, it has a beginning, and it has a bunch of stuff happen, and then it has an ending, and I don't really know what the middle stuff really has to do with anything else. Here's my shot. So this movie takes place in a retro-futuristic, from our vantage point in time, technocratic... It's very much inspired by, like, the movie adaptations of, like, Orwell. Yes, it's like a
Religioncratic. What the fuck is the word?
Theocratic.
Theocratic, thank you.
Religion. Just say religioncratic. That makes sense.
A theocratic, kind of post-apocalyptic...
That's where Theo from The Cosby Show rules everything.
Oh boy. Oh boy. No, not gonna touch that. A theocratic, post-apocalyptic, it is understood, fascist totalitarian England. And so there's Hugo Weaving, who has a Guy Fawkes mask, and he doesn't like the government. So what he does is he blows shit up. Natalie Portman gets involved somehow. And then Hugo Weaving dies. The end.
Yeah. There's a plague in there somewhere. That's not, for what it's worth, not in the graphic novel. I don't think we should get too in depth in like the differences between this and the graphic novel. Because,
I ain't read the graphic novel.
Yeah,
Listen,
I've read it a long time ago. And Alan Moore's own politics are
dubious,
but at least more thought out than this movie. He at least has politics. Alan Moore has capital P politics.
Sure.
But there's a plague of some kind. There's some medical experimentation that I don't entirely get.
I think I mean, the Hugo Weaving, the V character, is some kind of like unkillable Superman, except when he gets killed.
He definitely was experimented on, and it was like to test for a virus, or for a cure to the virus, and then they found one, but then they realized that having the threat of the virus was, like the government being they, realized that having the threat of the virus was politically useful, so they didn't release the cure. Am I getting about right there?
I think that's correct. It doesn't fucking matter.
This
movie sucks. So
where do we start with this?
Where do we fucking start with this? Okay, so let me start off by saying what I said in my Letterboxd review. That this film is the most politically influential film of the 21st century. That's fucking horrifying.
Yes. This film has had an immense sociological impact.
Oh, remember Project Chanology?
Oh, God.
I was around for
Anonymous?
that shit. Yeah.
Anonymous was politically influential. I mean, technically they still are. They just don't call themselves Anonymous anymore. And now they're just Gamergate and they use their real names because they realize it doesn't fucking matter.
And then you got, Anon became QAnon, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
That's a whole other
4chan
thing.
went from being a weirdly, like, libertarian, like... discussing the politics of early 4chan is in and of itself weird because there were politics there, but they were so... There's something that I find really interesting in that a lot of like political writers make an assumption that the average person has a political ideology, when that's not the case. People have like political things they care about, but there's no central like ideology that they subscribe to.
Adhere to, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like people will be like, I care about freedom of speech, and also I think that how about the average 4chaner? What do they care about? They care about freedom of speech.
Free speech.
But not for gay people, and not for black people. But also they think that the white race is dying because of cultural degradation, but also they watch like the most depraved pornography ever created in the history of like Western civilization. Also child porn.
Also,
let's be frank.
Yes. Also, feminism has rendered their dicks useless.
Yes. And they're all incels, and all women are whores, but also you should be fucking constantly. And the gold standard is bad, and but like Bitcoin is good, but fiat currency in other ways is bad. My point is, there's no central there. It's not like a Marxism or an anarchism, or even, for as much as I will disparage it, like liberalism has an ideology.
Right.
But there is no ideology for this besides the general idea, like we said, that totalitarianism is bad, which is something no one disagrees with. Even people who subscribe to, love Hitler would not say that fascism describes a totalitarian state. People who are evil do not go about saying, I'm doing evil things.
So I'm going to flip over the counter of consecutive episodes we've referenced Hitler to 2.
God. I mean, it makes sense, though. We're talking about this movie, and I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that this became a symbol for people who wanted to have political action or wanted to believe they were political activists, but didn't actually want to have politics.
Sure.
This is political action for the people who say video games should not have politics. Do you know what I'm saying?
You fool! Everything has politics. Ha ha ha! Even a lack of politics is a politics. Ha ha ha! You're just fucked.
I'm assuming that the rest of our audience is smart enough to know that everything is political and you cannot avoid politics no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But what do you make of the influence that this film has had, not just on 4chan culture and like the culture on the internet, but in real world politics? Like, can you draw a line from here, from where we started with in 2005 to now?
Well, let's see. From like the non-politics of like, it's in that nothing means anything and nothing carries any weight and it's all spin and there's like no action, or it's like, how even do I describe this?
I mean, I think there's no such thing as normative claims.
Normative claims?
Meaning, sorry, not to be philosophical for people. I apologize for how I'm Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood editor here. Just stepping in to tell you that we're splicing out a little part of this episode. It was long-winded and didn't go where I wanted it to, and it's kind of pointless, but I thought it was an interesting enough point to make again. So there will be a bonus episode attached, or not attached, but that comes out the same day as this episode, where I go more fully into a philosophical and political explanation of the sentence I just said that you faded out on. But yeah, without further ado, we'll take you back to the continuing discussion just a couple minutes later. Bye. Well, not bye. Like, still, you're still here and I'm still here, but like this is recorded like a week later or something. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I'm throwing it back to them. Go. I feel like I've put us in too much of a diversion.
So let me yank us back out by saying that this movie has not aged well for other reasons. Having Stephen Fry as your free speech loving sort of comic figure,
Jordan Peterson's friend, Stephen Fry,
didn't shake out all that well. Tough luck, James McTeague.
And I think that's actually like a kind of, in its own way, like beautifully succinct way of looking at this movie's influence. Or like,
look at Stephen Fry then and Stephen Fry now. Look at where this notion of like the sort of free speech intelligentsia has gone.
Yeah.
In just the decade and a half between V for Vendetta and now.
I mean, like, I hate to use this idea because it's, but the fact that now we're finally developing an actual left for the first time since the Berlin Wall fell in America and in many other industrialized countries, or rather Western countries, I should say. The fact that we're finally coming out of the malaise of like the 90s, where there essentially was no ideology. Neoliberalism was the end of history.
Took us long enough. This
movie, the way that I saw someone describe it is that, or I think Moore himself might have described it, I could be wrong in that, is that the graphic novel's conflict was between fascism and anarchism. This movie's conflict is between neoliberalism and neoconservatism.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's a much less...
That's a different fight.
It's a very different fight. And it's a fight where I don't really like either side. I don't want either side of that winning. Should we talk about the actual like content of the movie, like as a piece of entertainment, though?
Okay, I'll run through it real quick.
Yes.
James McTeague produces 0 memorable images for this, like, with the possible exception of the last one, but probably not for the reasons he intended.
Mm-hmm.
All of the actors try their best. I mean, no one really acts bad in this movie. Stephen Ray looks like he belongs in a fucking different movie. He looks like he should be in Seven or something.
He's trying.
He's trying so hard.
Natalie Portman's also trying very hard.
Stephen Ray Stephen Ray fucking rules. He should be in his own like sort of detective movie.
100%.
Hugo Weaving does some pretty good mask acting. He emotes through the mask. That's not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
This movie kind of sucks.
One of the things that struck me when watching it in terms of just entertainment value and like watchability is that there's no discernible structure to this film. Like it starts in the first time that V does a terrorist action. Like he blows up what is it? The statue of Lady Justice or something like that?
Yeah, I forget what it is.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. He blows up something.
Matter.
And Evie, who is Natalie Portman's character, sees that and she is into it. And then she meets him, and then a bunch of things happen, and then all of a sudden it's a year later, and she has been kidnapped by him, well, we don't know that at the time, but spoilers, it's him that kidnaps her, and been somehow convinced to go to his side by being kept in solitary confinement, thinking she was going to die because of her political actions. And then the movie just kind of ends where, like, she drives a train into Parliament and blows it up. Even that makes it sound way more coherent than it is. There's also, like, subplots about the priest.
Yeah.
There's the priest subplot. There's the doctor subplot. There's the whole thing with V being, like, an experimentation victim, which goes nowhere and doesn't seem to have, like, any purpose. Most movies have, like, acts. Like, they have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I'm not saying every movie has to have that, but if you're making a major, like, blockbuster action film, it should probably at least think about it.
This costs $50 million.
It should think about maybe having an act structure. And there's no motivation that causes things to happen. Things just happen because the plot needs to move forward. But even then, the plot doesn't always move forward. It just kind of sits there for a while.
The script is also kind of fucked up because Natalie Portman, first of all, her character gets real cozy to the idea that she's being kidnapped and held hostage functionally for like a year.
She doesn't. Her character doesn't have a character.
And we talked about this off mic. The whole pedophile priest subplot, and like this is the second movie that we've talked about on the show where Natalie Portman is like weirdly sexualized,
as in a childish way.
In a childish way, like there's a lot of decisions made in this movie, and none of them are great. Like shit happens. There's a barreling momentum, but no calls make any sense.
I think I try to think about what I used to like this movie quite a bit when I was younger. Probably around when I was like 16 or 17. When I was like, 2005, 2006, 2007. When I was like 16 or 17, I was like, yeah, V for Vendetta rules. And I try to think of why did I like it? And I think I like it because it has the appearance of radicalism without ever asking the audience anything, without ever challenging you. It has the appearance of being a piece of radical political cinema, but it never asks you to question yourself. It never asks you to question anything around you. It lets everyone, like from across the political spectrum, believe themselves to be the hero of the film. Because it doesn't actually ask you any serious questions about yourself or what you might believe.
And also, what kind of anarchist operates alone?
Yeah. like
who doesn't have a network? Anyway, this movie's not great. I'm going to cast my vote for Scarface. Fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to watch Scarface again, but I would rather watch the 3 hours of Scarface than have to watch the, I forgot this movie's over 2 hours long, too, which it doesn't have to be. So,
I mean, we must have talked about this. The people who voted for this list really love movies that are 2 hours plus.
Yeah.
I think it's a return on investment thing. A short movie can't be good, which is bullshit, but whatever.
I think it's, if you... in a more pretentious sense, like if you sit down and watch that in Tango for 7 hours, and by the end of it you're like, this wasn't very good, or this is just fine, it feels like you wasted your own time. So in a certain sense, longer movies have a way of deceiving people into believing that they are better because of almost a sunk cost fallacy.
Sure. So congratulations, I guess.
Let's talk about some better movies.
Let's talk about some slightly better movies. All right, so second matchup of the day, Tale of the Tape, number 23. The Silence of the Lambs, released in 1991, directed by Jonathan Demme, written by Ted Talley, based on the book of the same name by Thomas Harris, starring Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, Scott Glenn, and Ted Levine. 5 for 7 at the Academy Awards, including the Big Five. And if I'm not mistaken, the last movie to do that.
And I need to look. I could have sworn that Return of the King did. Or maybe, no, I don't think Return of the King got the acting once, did it?
I don't think so.
It got a fuck load of other things. Did Titanic not?
It got Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, but I don't think it got any acting awards. And a smash $272 million take on a $19 million budget, and was the last movie of note released by Orion Pictures. Rest in peace. Versus the 234 seed, which frankly I think, I thought this was going to be higher. The Wizard of Oz, released in 1939, directed by Victor Fleming, written by Noel Langley, Florence Ryerson, and Edgar Allan Wolfe, based on the book by L. Frank Baum, starring Judy Garland, Frank Morgan, Ray Bolger, Burt Lahr, and Jack Haley. 2 for 5 at the Oscars, plus a special juvenile Oscar for Judy Garland's performance, and a $26 million take in 1939 bucks on a $3 million budget.
Do you mind? I actually looked it up, and this is the last movie to get all the big five. Do you know what the other two movies are off the top of your head?
The last two, the two since?
Yeah, since Sounds of the Lambs. Sorry.
Oh shit. God, the big five.
No, not since. Just like it all. There's only 3 total.
Silence of the Lambs. Mm-hmm. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Correct.
And Godfather?
It Happened One Night.
It Happened One Night.
Godfather,
or Godfather 2
was not nominated for the big five. Not all of them.
Oh.
Yeah. Wild, right?
It didn't get a lead and a supporting?
Not according to the list I'm looking at.
That's weird. Maybe nominated, maybe didn't probably win.
No. Like it wasn't nominated.
Oh,
it must have not had one of those.
Interesting. Anyway, so let's talk about Silence of the Lambs.
Sure.
This is a good movie.
I would agree with one glaring exception.
Yeah.
But let's get to that at the end. Let's talk about what we liked about it first.
Okay, so this is kind of a classed up, kind of like lurid B movie.
This is maybe the best example of classed up pulp.
Yes. Jonathan Demme, like many directors of his vintage, started in the Roger Corman School of Filmmaking.
I don't know if you've read the Thomas Harris book or any of Thomas Harris books. They're preposterous.
I was gonna say, are they fucked up?
They're like, they go even further. Like, actually, the sequel to this, Hannibal, the self-titled, I guess. No, the titular Hannibal. None of those words were the right one, but I'm just gonna keep going. So, is the luridness of that?
Wait, the book, the movie, or the TV show?
The movie, the one that still stars. So in the same universe as one still starring Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
That movie is way more similar to what the actual books are like, where it's completely over the top, completely ostentatious, like having Gary Oldman play like a pedophile who, slight content warning. So in the novel that Hannibal is based on, the character that Gary Oldman plays is a pedophile whose lesbian sister rapes him with a strap-on and then throws him into a den of his pigs so that they can eat him.
Oh my god.
It's that kind of book.
Wow.
And I mean that positively for what it's worth. It's ridiculous, and it is totally lurid, but
that's gnarly.
I enjoy it, and also, for what it's worth, David Foster Wallace quite enjoyed them as well.
Oh, man. So yeah, this is like Silence of the Lambs is like the classed up version of it. Jonathan Demme and Tak Fujimoto, who was DP on this, shot the hell out of it.
Yeah.
What it does with sight lines and faces is extraordinary, because that's basically how you make a movie. I mean, you don't really that's like your easiest bet. If you bet on eyes and faces, you're in.
Yeah. Like that, the first time that Clarice meets Hannibal Lecter, that whole sequence is just perfect.
Yeah,
like
straight up.
If you're going to shoot that, there's no better way to shoot that. I can't imagine a different way to shoot that than that. It is so incredibly, like, here's exactly how you make a movie, and it is bewilderingly impressive without being showy.
Yeah, it's like it's relatively few moves. It's only showy when you start thinking about it, but it's really impressive. It looks deceptively simple, but it's very well thought out. Obviously, the performances across the board are fucking rock solid. I named 4 names at the top of this. Like, we'll get to like the content of it. We'll get to the big elephant in the room in a second. But I do think the performances are like uniformly excellent.
I agree 100%.
And this is like, we were talking about Scarface and its kind of cultural ubiquity. And I don't think this movie has the same kind of cultural ubiquity as Scarface does, because very few movies do. But I think this does have a kind of cultural ubiquity. And it's still... this is the movie
why people care about Hannibal Lecter.
100%.
Manhunter came before this, and if I may editorialize, I think is a better film. But no one gave a fuck about Manhunter. I do.
I love Manhunter.
I love
It fucking
Manhunter.
rules.
It's one of my favorite movies ever. I think it's brilliant, and I think it also is like a sense of mood like almost no other film I've ever seen.
I think I would agree that Manhunter is the better film, but I like Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter, but I think Hopkins is like the gold standard.
Certainly, yeah, and Hopkins is why people care about Hannibal Lecter to this day. Like I think that his performance is the reason why we got the TV show, why we got the sequels to this movie, why we got Hannibal Rising. Like, who gave a fuck about Hannibal Lecter before this? Maybe like a bunch of nerds who really like Michael Mann, but
or a bunch of Thomas Harris heads, I guess.
Yeah.
Fucking Jodie Foster in this movie, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Fuck.
One of my favorite moments of really subtle acting that I just love every time I watch it is when they're having that first meeting, Clarice and Hannibal, and there's that power dynamic going on. Mm-hmm. And she mentions that serial killers take trophies of their victims. And Hannibal's like, well, I didn't. And then she says, no, you ate yours. There's like this confidence she says it with, and this thought that she says it with that is so... A lot of other people would play that up, or play it as kind of grotesque or frightening. She plays it almost like this is an aspect of my job, like, oh, like she's considering, like, oh yeah, you ate yours.
No, like she didn't go, oh, you ate yours.
Yeah, it's like it really represents not just that character, but how she is in that moment and what she's trying to do. And it takes a really good actor to make you appreciate something that subtle.
Yes. But Jodie Foster she's like across the board great.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Let's see.
I think that her subtlety is a great play against Hopkins going for the fences, chewing all the scenery.
Oh, a ham sandwich, just laying it on thick. The sort of erudite European serial killer with like zingers and shit. Mm. I really liked Scott Glenn in this movie.
Yeah, same.
I think it's like one of the great unheralded like supporting turns because he just happens to be in the same fucking movie as Anthony Hopkins.
And I think there's also a lot of ways that role could play differently or play as something that it isn't.
He's just got the look. He's got like the perfect line readings. It's just everything in this movie is pitch perfect.
Yeah. And so we'll get into, like we said, the content, but I think that for what the content is, I think that Ted Levine does a very, very good job.
Yes.
I think there's a reason that it's iconic, that he is an iconic character that people will quote, and when they quote him, they do his mannerisms too. They do everything about that. He found a character there that is very lived in and full, but is also entertainingly cartoonish and strange.
And he gives it 110%. It's a great performance, but he happens to be performing one of the most transphobic things I've maybe ever seen in a film. It's got to be up there.
We can, like, people will hem and haw and say, like, well, they say explicitly in the film that he's not transgender, or as they say in the film, transsexual, as the term was back then. They say that he's not that thing, but saying it is one thing, and then the fact that the movie does attempt to portray aspects, like they attempt to use the man in a dress thing as terrifying, as grotesque, as scary, as something worth ridiculing, and something that only someone fucked up would do. I think that the thing that really almost bothers me more than anything is when Clarice finds the head, this severed head in the storage unit. It has on full makeup, but it also has like stubble and a beard. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, I have plenty of friends who there's no reason that you have to shave your face to wear makeup or to be trans. There's no one way to do it, but the movie clearly presents that as another aspect of the ugliness, of the grotesqueness. And you're supposed to view that as something deviant and strange and off-putting. Am I reading it wrong, or would you agree?
I would tend to agree. Not really my place to really get deep into the weeds. Mm-hmm. But, I mean,
and I mean, I do want to say that I have other trans friends who love this movie and actually find something, they've kind of reclaimed the portrayal here. I can't do that. I have a lot of respect for them doing that. I have a lot of like interest in the ratings they've had on it. And I would definitely, if you're interested, look up how trans people have read this film, both now and historically, because it's fascinating. There's a lot of different opinions on it. I don't claim to be the only opinion. But my opinion is that this movie's portrayal of a trans person is fucking bullshit and is really insulting. And if we're being like 100% like real, not to be like too real on this podcast, the tropes and the exact quotes from this movie are things that have been used to insult me personally. And at that point, it's hard to really like for me to take it as this positive thing. But continue. Sorry.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think it's like it's exactly kind of lurid and off-putting in an early 90s way. So it's like, man, I gotta deal with this in an otherwise fucking pristine movie.
Agreed.
But I know that Willa McClay and Caden Gardner had like this fucking document about this movie on one of their blogs that I think is worth a read.
100%.
But like it's just like, yeah, it's like someone dropping the F word for gay people in an awesome movie in the 80s. Obviously it's like levels, but it's that same idea of like, well, now you went and did that.
It's kind of like, you know that Eugene Merman bit about Teen Wolf?
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, you're watching this like movie, and then all of a sudden, when he's about to tell his friend that he's a wolf, his friend's like, "You're not going to tell me you're a fag, are you?" It's like, no, I'm a wolf. That's so much less bad than I'm. God. But yeah, no, it is a jarring thing that I wish wasn't in there personally.
It's jarring for the bad reasons.
Yes, but
it kind of rhymes with the movie we're going to do next episode. We're going to have kind of a different version of this conversation.
Yeah, we will actually. That's I think a nicer version of this conversation.
Yeah, it's because the movie we're going to be talking about, it operates in let's say a different mode than this movie.
Yes, and I will say that as much as I would just kind of said a bunch of negative things, even about like especially about that portrayal, this is still an incredibly fun movie to watch, and
it kicks so much ass.
It kicks ass. It's really enjoyable, and even that jarring thing that I don't like, it doesn't make it. A lot of the times that would ruin a movie for me. It doesn't really in this. It still is like incredibly fun to watch. I would put this on for fun 100% of the time.
That's the thing with movies that are awesome, and like sometimes there's just like a big old turd in it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about The Wizard of Oz,
which is a movie you think is a turd. Not entirely. You think is a spicy turd. It's a tasty turd.
I don't think it's a turd. I just think it's like terminally okay.
Terminally okay. Death by decency.
It's like, well, I don't like here. Like, I feel like I'm not a hot take person. I don't really like. I don't.
Generally, that's my spot on this podcast is to give the hot take. But you have a hot take here. How hotter take than me?
I don't like The Wizard of Oz. I think it kind of sucks. I don't like Judy Garland's performance in this. I think the script is dog shit.
Dog shit?
Maybe dog shit's a little strong, but I like it.
Boy, howdy.
I mean, there's things
I
to
thought
like
I was
in this.
The dick.
I mean, I think there are things to like about this movie, but practically none of them involve Judy Garland.
I feel like the unfortunate thing here is that you're setting me up to defend a movie that I think is good, but have no like lasting opinion about.
See, I don't have here's the thing. I don't have a history with The Wizard of Oz. The first time I saw The Wizard of Oz, I was like 20. So I don't have the kind of like, a lot of this is nostalgia. This played on cable a lot. Mm-hmm. This movie is from the late 30s. So it's gotten like practically a century of goodwill.
It's also, if I may, this is a movie that when I was in the 6th grade, my teacher was obsessed with The Wizard of Oz, and we had to, not just Wizard of Oz, but the Oz books in general.
Sure.
And one of our projects was everyone had to draw a map of Oz, and the winner like won something. I don't remember what it was, but like she was obsessed with these works. So Did you win
a salt lamp or some shit?
I didn't personally win. My map was not very good. I didn't put a lot of effort into it, but it was a thing that happened. And
that's so weird.
We also watched Return to Oz, which is a better movie.
I ain't seen Return to Oz.
Oh, you gotta watch Return. It's like,
apparently it's wild.
If you were like, hey, this movie's not weird enough, you should watch Return to Oz because it is weird as fuck.
I think it's really weird that the Munchkins get credited as a bunch in character.
Yes.
Like it kind of this is a children's film. It has the same. it's the same pacing and rhythm and sort of narrative moves as like a kid's book, which The Wizard of Oz, I think, is, right?
Yes, it is. It's a series of kids' books.
So
with a wildly elaborate backstory that we're not going to get into, but it has. If you look into it, it's kind of wild.
Sure, I think that We're Off to See the Wizard song is sub Lewis Carroll bullshit.
Oh, mean.
I think. I mean, listen. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is a classic. I'm not going to go out here and say that song sucks. I think that might actually be the best song in the movie.
What about like If I Only Had a Brain and the variations upon that?
I like the variations upon that because Dorothy Gale is a nothing character.
Okay. You can continue, but I disagree with that.
I mean, I don't know, kid who ran away from home and now wants to go home. Rah rah. Okay, sure, whatever. But the three Oz boys, I like their songs. I like their riffs on that.
One thing I think you will agree with me is that Bert Lahr
kicks so much ass in this movie.
Everyone kind of understands that it's a camp film, but he's the one that really understands that it's a camp fucking film, and he rips into it, and I love it.
He tears into it, and he's like by far and away my favorite part of this movie. Like just streets ahead of everyone else. It's not even a fucking contest. I don't know. I think this movie's... Listen, for a movie where a fucking log cabin from Kansas gets chucked into a tornado into a world of Technicolor, I think this movie's kind of dull.
Man, I'm shocked. I'm genuinely a little bit shocked. I think that, like, this is not... I'm not saying I adore this movie. Okay. But I'm saying the entire time I watch it, I'm having a great time. I didn't notice time... It goes really fast. For me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a long movie, and it's not like... It does have kind of like a barreling momentum. Shit keeps happening. Except for the fucking part when they land into Oz, and the Munchkins do their fucking numbers, and that shit sucks. I'm sorry.
I think it's fun.
All the fucking Munchkin songs, fuck that.
Okay. Rude. I think those are really fun. They're like I like the weird like voices they do. I
can't stand that shit.
You can't stand whimsy, apparently.
I mean, we've talked about whimsy. There's a limit.
I think that. Well, I mean, there's a couple things here that I have feelings towards. So number one is the fact that I'm gay. So I like the Wizard of Oz to some degree because of that. Because there's obviously this huge history with it in the gay community, especially the community of gay men, which I'm not a part of. But still, Friends of Dorothy was a whole thing.
Are you insinuating that my dislike for The Wizard of Oz is because I'm some kind of homophobe?
I'm saying that there's a level of camp that this movie approaches that is maybe I'm more readily interested in and more readily have aesthetic predisposition towards. Not in like, to be clear, not in like a genetic sense, like I'm predisposed to liking camp because I'm very fucking gay, but I'm saying like that I like when this movie goes big. I like all the songs, and I actually like every single song. I think they're really fun. I think that like they all have great melodies that we remember every single song in this like decades and decades and decades later. They're all iconic. Like you could sing any song in this, everyone knows what you're talking about. I think that like the weird like performances that like Glinda gives, or like Billy Burke as Glinda the Good Witch, is surreal and fun. I think that Frank Morgan as the professor and the wizard is this enjoyable conman character that when they did Oz, the new one,
Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yes, the Sam Raimi one. Where what's his name? The Dick. What's that one? Dick.
James Franco.
James Franco. Where James Franco played him doesn't do him justice into any degree.
No, I like Frank Morgan in this as well. I like the traveling dudes. I like the wizard.
I like Dorothy. I think Dorothy's a fun character. I think she overgoes. I think you're really discounting the fact that she grows throughout the movie and learns things and like has experiences. Like she begins the movie as someone who essentially hates her lot in life and then comes to love her lot in life. And that's a big change. And the movie, I think, sells it personally. As far as a kid's fable can sell that, I think it sells it.
I don't know, I found it kind of flimsy.
And then also, Margaret Hamilton really does a fun job as the Wicked Witch of the West.
Sure. Nothing in this movie kind of grabs me, you know?
Okay.
It's like, I can't believe you're going to turn the fucking tables and make me the unfun one.
I mean, you're the one who doesn't like The Wizard of Oz. It's not my fault.
I think it's okay. It's fine. Jesus, get off my dick.
You said the script sucked shit earlier.
I don't think it's a great script.
What's wrong with it?
I don't know. It's just
You just didn't like it.
I just kind of didn't like it. I liked a lot of the dialogue.
What?
But I don't...
Okay, you like the dialogue. You like a lot of the songs. You like half the fucking characters.
Okay.
Like, this is weird.
Okay, I don't like the structure of the film. I think it's like... But I like the Tin Man, Scarecrow, the Lion, the Wizard. They get a lot of bombos in.
I don't think I'm going to be able to convince you. And I'm not like even trying that hard because like I said, it's not a movie that like I have a huge disposition towards. But I give it 4 stars. I would watch... If someone's like, hey, do you want to watch Wizard of Oz? I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah. Let's watch that. It's a really fun movie.
I mean, I'd be like, sure, whatever. Wait till the gay lion comes. I like the gay lion.
We've been recording for a while. We're already recording for an hour and 6 minutes. So we should probably just say, hey, Silence of the Lambs, you're the winner.
Congratulations.
And you're also the winner of next round. Congratulations on that one, too.
That's a very good, yeah. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but yeah.
I think we need to do the things where we wrap it up.
Yeah,
right?
That's probably a good idea. So, if you want to send us some mail, because sometimes some people are, they send us mail for us to read because they like the show. If you're one of those people, go ahead and send us some stuff at middlebrowmadness@gmail.com. We are currently soliciting recipes, vegan preferable, the opinions from Brits about the Roman conquest. Shit, what else? There's a couple of other things.
Did you mention Bollywood?
Bollywood. Anything and everything about Bollywood. And I think that's all the stuff that we have open right now. But don't let that limit you. I mean, send us what you want to send us.
Yeah,
unless it's bullshit.
And we have things that have been sent to us. We actually have letters both this episode and the next episode. So we've set a pattern. So if you don't send us anything, we're going to have to just end the pod.
You'll never know which is the best movie, asterisk. So if you want to send me some fucking hate mail because I don't like The Wizard of Oz that much, you can find me on Twitter at Derek_G, and you can find Isabelle at SpaceJamFan. We can both be found on Letterboxd at both of those same handles. And
nope.
Yeah. Oh no, yours is the Trapped Jaw. That's right. And rate us 5 stars on iTunes or however much you think we deserve. But 5 preferably. Yeah, leave us a review. We're so small that it does actually help. And as I see as time goes on, we get a greater amount of subscribers because I see in Apple Podcasts that we have more and more people who listen to this podcast also listen to podcasts.
Yes.
We had 1, now we've got 3. Also, we are part of the Noise Space Podcast Network.
Yes.
All of our shit is at noisespace.xyz. It's a little podcast, a podcast incubator, I think he likes to call it, that our friend Matt runs. And you can find our shows and a bunch of other fucking shows by a bunch of our fucking friends on noisespace.xyz. And real quick, I'm going to tease the next episode's matchups. We have North by Northwest versus Monty Python's The Life of Brian versus no, that's one matchup. The second matchup is Grave of the Fireflies versus Rush.
A lot of fucking good movies there.
There's some pretty good movies in there.
I'm going to make a bold claim. This might be our best set of matchups. There's not a single movie in there that I don't love.
Yeah, these are like all at least really, really good.
But we have, this is the third part of Hirsch's email.
Oh yeah, the long email.
Yes. So we did the previous 2 episodes. We did the first 2 parts. We're finally getting to the last part of this email. And it is a recipe. So it is for black bean and seitan. Is that how you pronounce it? I've seen that word. I've never said it out loud to another person. Now I feel like an asshole.
Seitan?
Seitan, like the fake, not the fake meat, I shouldn't say. It's like a kind of like...
It's like a protein?
Yeah. Man, I lost steam on that really quick. It's wheat gluten.
Wheat gluten.
It is very much not gluten-free. But it is for black bean and seitan. Would you pronounce that seitan?
I'm actually looking up a pronunciation as we... Seitan.
Seitan.
Hail Seitan.
I was about to do a bit that would have just been like a reference to the beginning of a Butthole Surfers album, which is no one's idea of fun. So...
Well... Sometimes you just gotta follow Occam's joke, you know?
So, the recipe here, I'm going to read it off, and I'm going to give my comment as we go, because I think there's a couple things worth commenting in here.
Okay.
So heat a few tablespoons of oil in a big pan over low-medium heat. Good so far. Mm-hmm. Add 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon coriander seeds, and maybe like 6 cloves of minced garlic. Stir it around and let it fry for like 30 seconds. Add 2 diced onions and bring to medium heat and cook for 5 minutes. Good so far. I'm a fan of everything that's going on. I make balls of this fake meat stuff called Seitan every now and then out of wheat gluten, but you could maybe find it in a specialty store or use firm tofu instead. So I want to comment here. You can make it. It's actually not that hard to make. It is impossible to find non-seasoned Seitan. Seitan. Outside of like very specialty health food stores, even in like some of the like what do you call them? Like food co-ops around here, they don't have them. And this is the Pacific Northwest where you should have them. But either way, dice up 200 grams of it and add to the pan. Cook for another 5 minutes, and then add, this is in brackets, some amount I didn't measure, corn, and a drained and rinsed 400 gram can of black beans. Rinse 1 cup of uncooked brown rice a few times, and add it to the pan as well. You can leave it for a little while if you want the rice to toast a bit, but if there's too much liquid in the pan for that to happen, or you can't be bothered waiting, just skip the next step. I like that. I'm a very big fan of that. Pour in 2 cups of vegetable stock. If you can get vegetarian faux chicken stock, that's even better. Stir to deglaze if there's any food at the bottom of the pan. Cover and let simmer in low for 10 minutes, and then you're pretty much good. You can serve it with coriander. But yeah, that's our first recipe here. I'm a fan. That sounds like something I make all the time. So
we should probably put that in the show notes.
We probably should. But yeah, until next time. What a weird thing to leave off on. Until next time, I've been. Oh, we didn't say cum once this episode. We didn't talk about bone. Okay. I mean, we talked about Bad Dragon, but
yeah, we talked about cum a lot in the pre-show.
We talked about our sponsor. Yeah, we talked a lot about getting cancer from cunnilingus.
Hurry up and fucking say, because I was going to make a horrible joke about pre-cum. Just end the show.
My name's Isabelle Arf. Isabelle cum baby Arf.
Oh, god damn it. And I'm Derek Big Daddy Jizz God.
God, that's the worst. Big Daddy Jizz.
I panicked.
How do we end this? What's the thing we say? Have movies be jolly.
That's the one. Have movies be jolly. Good night, everyone.
Good night.